Welcome to the Holistic Wealth and Health Podcast. Your co-hosts, Jason Smith and Brian Bibbo, will inspire and teach you how to prosper in your mind, body, and spirit, not just your financial life. Joining forces with field experts, Jason and Brian are here to help you focus on what matters most in your life, living well.
Hello, this is Jason Smith, and welcome to the Holistic Wealth and Health Podcast. And I have a guest, I have a fellow Jason as a guest today. And so we're going to be talking about some fun health stuff that we have not talked about in previous episodes. Jason is the founder of Empowered Prevention. And so he's a guy that I actually have not had a ton of experience with around, herbal nutrition. Has 15 years plus, experience of helping people in this area, specializes in holistic and personalized strategies to integrate mind, body, and spirit. And exercise science, herbalism, integrative health. So these are all kind of things, especially, things that can impact, your lifespan. And that's really what today's topic is about, is how your daily routine impacts your lifespan. So welcome, Jason, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited about the topic. Like I said before we were on here, I think that there's a lot of overlap and you guys have great questions prepared. So I'm excited to see what this turns into and how many connections we can make to help your listeners.
Yeah. So Jason, typically what I find is, there's always a story as to why, people get into the field they're in or become passionate and end up starting the business they start or going down the path they're down. So tell us a little bit about your story and what brought you to being so passionate about, helping people and, the daily routine that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. I really get into the details, the ins and outs over the couple decades that kind of shaped my beliefs, my thoughts mentally. But in a nutshell, have very early memories of my mom exercising, and then very early memories of her getting brain cancer. And so to beat the cancer, this is back in the 90s. Great, get her home. She's back at work, and then her body slowly starts to deteriorate. And so through this process, through middle school up through high school and then into college, we watched this play out. And by the time we finally were able to connect enough dots and got up to the Mayo Clinic, they were the first place that said you need to stop pursuing medical treatment for a lifestyle deterioration, essentially. How my mom was living post-cancer, her body's breaking down. So at that point, she was already on disability. That is the really the biggest mover. And that's when I changed my focus career-wise to figure out, well, why? I mean, this doesn't make sense. We got bodybuilders and we got people that can repair a lot of things. So why is this going on? And that led me to go to school for the things that I did.
Well, that's excellent. Well, thanks for giving a little bit of that background. Tell me a little bit about the lifestyle menu and that kind of framework for organizing, health choices.
Okay. So started out in exercise science, personal training world. Even though my focus was more on corrective exercise, longevity, 95% plus of the industry cares less, especially when you're young. It's all about looking a certain way, performing a certain way. And then as we age, we start to lose that and our independence becomes more important to us, right? So the lifestyle menu, what I've noticed, both with my schooling, so I've done a bunch of different certifications in exercise science, college in that, and then certifications, then moved over into corrective exercise and the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which we go over the 100 plus most popular dietary belief systems and all the pros and cons of both, and really helping you find who is bio-individual for that belief system. So your biology should drive your specific changes. The lifestyle menu is about what we know all humans need and we can agree on. So it's, unless you don't share a spiritual belief, it's mind, body, spirit. We have a health of all three. And then when it comes to physical body, I try to shape it up in there of me writing a book to tell you specifically what every person has to do is impossible because we're so different.
Right.
But the human body, there's plenty we can make sure that we do in all belief systems, whether you're carnivore versus plant-based. We know we need sleep. We know we need adequate nutrition. We need cellular hydration. So it's about you taking a step back, because coming out of the information age, we have enough information. We're not applying the fundamentals first before the specifics. So the lifestyle menu is about you getting back to the basics of the health of mind, body, spirit. And if you're really confused, which most people are, check the boxes we all agree on first and find practitioners who then can help you sort out your individual biology and your specific needs, right? And I think it's two of those things. So the lifestyle menu is my way of trying to get people to categorize those fundamentals.
Okay. So the lifestyle menu is kind of global in relation to everyone, basically, the things you teach there. But in addition to that, you're saying based on your own biological makeup, right? You're going to want to go down a route of possibly, I don't know, being vegan or being gluten free or doing the carnivore or paleo or whatever, based up. But how do you, did I say that correctly? First, I want to make sure.
Yeah, I think so. Is like you will have to figure out what those specifics are. So I feel like the labels on the diet help us find those, but it's kind of
How
across
that
all of
that
them
was
for
my
people.
next part. Like, so I know you're saying like then you go down a route of figuring out, who to work with or what direction to go. But that sounds like it's separate from kind of the lifestyle menu teaching you're speaking of. So then is the how. How do you figure out, based on your biological makeup, whether you should be vegan or whether you should be carnivore on the total opposite, or whether you should eliminate gluten or dairy, or whether you should, go paleo or whatever that might be.
Right. And so what I found more than not with the amount of people that I've worked with in all the capacities, because it's evolved over the years, was this confusion and this pursuit of the specifics before they actually have the basics mastered. And so we watch that play out. So my education around different forms of medicine, so like there's allopathic medicine, there's lifestyle medicine, there's functional medicine, integrative facilities. I try to use that to say, these are the kinds, if you haven't experienced or interviewed a professional, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a PT, or someone like me, you probably should, because they're the ones that can help you with those specifics, and they can still practice allopathic medicine at the same time. So seeking out the type of professionals who look at the body, even though they might have an expertise on the mind, they understand the importance of everything working together. Yes, that is in a nutshell what I was trying to do. So I give advice in there to say, go find these people in your city, or maybe you know where to go. Maybe you don't. Maybe you run Google searches on what you just learned and you find medical options you didn't know necessarily existed.
What definition wise, and we've talked about integration and functional before, but I'd love to hear just kind of definition wise from you. Tell us about, we understand allopathic Western, right? Hospitals, doctors, traditional, right? Then break down integrative, functional, and lifestyle medicine definition wise for our
Okay.
listeners and me.
So the specific definition I definitely have written out in my book, but that to me doesn't explain what a person experiences when they go see a good licensed doctor in one of these categories. So this is how I look at it. Every one of these doctors are licensed and can change medications. So they all are versed in emergency medicine. And then from there, it goes on. So almost every functional doctor has their normal doctorate in Western medicine and can practice as an MD. What they do, though, is go, hey, I might be helping 40% of my patients. I see them for 15 minutes, but medication, they need more than medication, and I need more time. So functional medicine came along, lifestyle medicine came along and said, we want to still be able to use pharmaceutical drugs to, especially in emergency, and get somebody to not pass away so they can work on their health. But we also need to look at how you're sleeping. Do you drink enough water? You got cellular deficiencies? So like lifestyle medicine was created by Dr. Dean Ornish. He's the first guy to use lifestyle and food to reverse heart disease back in 1990. Fast forward now, I think like 15 or 16 states allow you to do his food and lifestyle program instead of medication, and the insurance pays for it. So if you want to make that change, you can get a result. But that's the reality we live in, is not everyone wants to, right? So then functional medicine is out there, can do all the same things, but they want to integrate it. They want to look at cellular health. They honor toxicity. So heavy metal toxicity, microbiome health, these other areas that definitely impact how a medication is used in the body or not used. So they brought in more of the hormones, bioidentical hormones. Either way, the way I see them is these are the doctors that were not okay with only helping 40%. So they wanted to go practice this medicine where they see their patient for an hour instead of 15 minutes, so they can learn about these other areas for their individual needs, right? So those are how I kind of sum those up, is what they're going to focus on, as well as the things you need any doctor to focus on. And then often those doctors, that's why I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, because whether you're an integrative practice, lifestyle, functional, they often want coaches, consultants like me, because of their patient load, and they need people to walk with the patients month after month so they can actually stick to the change they want them to make, right? Because the doctor has other things they got to do. So I come in and do that with them, and then give a report when they come and see their physician. This is what we've done. This is where holes are. So now that doctor has a really good understanding. Do you like party every weekend? Like, what are you doing? Now they have that, and that helps them a ton to know what direction to go.
Right. No, that's helpful. And that's even been like in my own experience, for years I did not have a primary care physician that I had any type of real relationship with. And it was like, just go there if there was something wrong or for an annual checkup, and I'm in and out in 15 minutes. And pretty sure if they saw me at the grocery store, they wouldn't recognize me, right? And so since I've moved over to Dr. Saper at the Cleveland Clinic, who's amazing
Yeah.
and does spend about an hour with me, for in my visits, and chairs the board for integrative and functional medicine for Cleveland Clinics. This is what we do. Even on the wealth side, is we're that person that makes sure everything is connected. Yes, we need to bring in specialists sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to bring in the CPA or the attorney, and and more specialized kind of people that work in conjunction with our team. But we're making sure the financial, the tax, the insurance is all connected, right? And the estate planning is all coordinated into one holistic plan. And that's what I'm now getting through Kasha, my functional medicine coach, working now with a doctor that is my primary care physician, that is very much so a huge believer in functional and integrative medicine. And so I'm getting that holistic experience on the wealth side, just like we've been delivering it on the or on the health side. I'm getting it just like we've been delivering it on the wealth side at JL Smith and Prosperity Capital Advisors. And so yeah, you're doing the same role as what my Kasha basically does for me, is what it sounds like, Jason, for people.
Yeah, it does. Yes, 100%. And that's why I was excited about this, because I feel like there's a lot of parallels between how someone starts building wealth, building a foundation, and then is strategically making those 1% shifts over decades to create something based on their vision, their beliefs, what they want, all of that stuff, right? And so 100%. Now, in our state, I wish we had the Cleveland Clinic. I write about it, but it's very allopathic. There's not a lot of functional clinics. So I'm doing that just with multiple practices, essentially. So I'm partnered with a few different doctors, a few different places, trying to bring the people together in Nebraska because we're still pretty separated. We need a clinic like that to bring integration together in Western partnering with lifestyle. It's kind of a either or discussion that goes on in our communities here.
Got it. Yeah, that's helpful. Hey, let's talk about daily routine because I believe you write about that in your book, and that's a big part of your belief system, as it is mine. So I think could be a fun little back and forth. Let me hear about your personal daily routine, Jason, because I got to think that you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. So let's hear it.
So I'm going to try to actually relate this back to a book I just finished because it's in what you do. The Psychology of Money, that book. I don't know if you've heard of it, but he just gives examples on, why someone can build wealth. What's the psychology? What are the guys that make a bunch and lose it all? And how do you assess the
Yeah.
risk for the life you want, right? That's how I look at it with health. That I need to have something baseline every day. Now it's weighted heavily towards my physical body because I had Lyme and colitis and some things that went on as well. So after my mom's situation, I thought I was doing good, and then I had my own illness pop up. So a lot of what I do now is what I did to go in remission 10 years ago. So there's a definite physical component, but mental too. So stress
Yeah.
was at an all-time high that when I got sick. And so I needed to learn to be mindful, process, make that time and be disciplined. And it took time, but it went from once a week to twice a week to then it became an every morning practice and every night practice. I just need 10 minutes. If it turns out I can get 20 or 30, great, but I have kids and other things, so it doesn't always happen.
Yep.
But if I got to wake up
Yep.
10 minutes earlier to make sure I have that quiet time to sit and breathe, then I will do it because I need to. That's part of my foundation mentally to stop, pause, reflect, take it in. Then that leads me to nourishment. So I'm going to hydrate the body, whether I'm going to do some sort of a lemon water, lime water. I like to juice different things only for medicinal sake, not flavor. So it'll be like just cucumber, just celery. I might do, there's other variations that I've used based on what I was dealing with or trying to get out of my body, whether it be mold or metal or whatever it is. And then I always have, it's evolved and changed over the years, but my goal from food sources, not synthetic, is to get a week's worth of vitamins and minerals in one shot. So some sort of shake, smoothie, you can add protein, you don't have to, but I want to get all those immune nutrients that I didn't have when I had the problems I did every day from food. And so the one thing I've learned in herbalism, for example, aspirin in synthetic form, obviously you can't eat a whole bottle. But white willow bark, which is the natural form of aspirin, which is part of how we discovered what this compound even was, in its natural form, if your body doesn't need it, you just stop absorbing it and pee it out. I could drink a whole bottle, but it won't harm me. So the same philosophy, we can do this with numerous foods that if you get the right chemistry of them, you just store them in your immune system later. And that's how you have a stronger immune system, right? So that has to happen every day. Part of that is I want something in there that protects my body against any pathogens disrupting my microbiome. I want support that chelates the body without robbing my nutrients. A lot of different ways to do that.
Yeah.
I want to also make sure that the nutrients, I'm at least giving my body a chance to absorb them, because it's, absorption's a whole nother thing, but at least I'm setting the environment to allow it to happen. And so in my head, back to the Psychology of Money book was, anything outside of my base, the lifestyle menu, my base is going to keep me healthy and keep my risk factors low of deadly diseases. Then I can move on and find specifics strategically that could add more or protect me more in some way, right? So for me, it's about figuring out that person, what they actually need, what they're deficient in building a normal base that can fit in their lifestyle, that we address these buckets that tend to make people have conditions like I dealt with, or maybe you have. And so for me, it's got to be mind, body, spirit. I got at least one habit a day that checks those. If I get more in, great. And then movement. I'm a big believer in movement. And it's not crazy stuff. It's not CrossFit. It's not running marathons. If you do that, great. My body broke down very young physically. So that was part of me figuring out what was going on with my health. And so
Yeah.
a lot of mine now is physical therapy, like preventative physical therapy. So I'm 80 years old and can still golf if I want to, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that term, preventative physical therapy, because that's really what it's all about. For me, I'm similar that, I want to be playing pickleball and, with my grandkids and my great grandkids, right? So I want to be
Right.
that 80-year-old that people are marveling at how active, how much, I'll be traveling and playing pickleball and doing yoga and, just doing all these things. That's kind of the vision, even at 90 years old, let alone 80
Right.
years old. So, great grandchildren and so on. The, talking about, you touched on your morning routine, and I'd love to kind of end with this as a takeaway for people is, let me hear a little bit more about what you like from the moment you open your eyes, what that morning routine is. Ideally, listen, not everybody, nobody's perfect, and it doesn't happen every single day. And that was one of the things I used to, when I'll talk about my morning routine here in a moment. And I used to kind of beat myself up a little bit because I wasn't perfect on it every day. And I've gotten, I've come to grips with that, and I'm in a better place with it. But, in a perfect world, what does your morning routine look like? You talked a little bit about 10 minutes, but, tell me more about the time you wake up and then what that looks like.
Okay. Yeah. So Monday through Friday, it's a non-negotiable for my morning routine and my nighttime because of my work week. And I have to set that focus wise. I'm
Yep.
not someone that can just jump into something, and I have a lot of projects. So I have to be intentional about my focus. That's why it's a non-negotiable. Weekends, that's where it might be a coin flip. But I wake up, it's usually 4:40, 4:44, depending on if I hit the snooze. Get up, go downstairs immediately, take down my hydration. So whatever I'm drinking that day, usually 30 ounces of water with some sort of electrolytes or one of my juices. Feed the cats, get my daily supplements, my rest of my lunch bag packed, which is pretty much packed. I just got to put stuff in there. Then, as I'm waiting, because I like to let that process, then I go over and I take my 10-minute of quiet. You could call it meditation, but it's just sitting there, finding my breath. It's interesting how stress can impact us. If you can't get a full breath in your diaphragm, I'll know it immediately that morning that I don't. Something's off inside. I need to chill out, but it's my way to check in. That happens. And after that, that's where I slam down my shake slash smoothie and I'm getting out the door or bringing that with me. And that's what I do my PT correctives and whatnot. I just so happen that my business partner has a private exercise facility that I office out of. So I have it right there. Like there's no reason I can't go
Nice.
do my stuff. And that's pretty much every day. I like to set that up that way. And then my first client, around 7 a.m., depends on the day, and we
Cool.
go through it.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah, so mine, I'll kind of share what mine is, and I think I've shared this in the past, but uh uh first of all, I actually let the sunlight wake me up, right? So I'm kind of follow the rhythm of just the sun in regards to, when I wake up in the morning. I'm typically an early riser, so it's the moment, the sun even starts to peek itself up before it rises is when, when I'm waking up, which is always early enough for me to meet the obligations, I need to make. But then I keep my cell phone plugged in the other room, right? Whether it be in the, in my one, home, it's in the closet, and the other, it's in the bathroom. But the key is not next to me at bed, because I used to immediately grab my phone if I woke up at night or even first thing in the morning. So I wanted to break that habit. So, I don't look at my phone as
Right.
the first part of the, when I wake up. So kind of put feet on the ground, and then the first thing I do is I do similar to yourself. I do some breath work or some meditation, right? So just breathing and being centered, and thinking about one of the three components of my mantra, which is Jesus, confidence, and gratitude, are the three components of my mantra. So my mantra
Mhm.
is what I meditate on, and try to really stay focused on all three of those, or even one of those that I go deep on. As my mind wanders, I like to have almost like a topic, you know what I mean, that I can
Yeah.
come back and
Yeah.
focus on. So that's where those are the three most important things and those evolve over time. I've had a mantra for probably 15 years, and it is, there's been some evolvement as to
Mhm.
what is in those three, based on kind of just what, where I'm at in life and what I want to make sure that I'm staying really focused on. But, Jesus, confidence, gratitude. And then after I do, depending on kind of what obligations I know I have at what time, right? What time I wake up and how much time I have. It's typically 5 to 10 minutes of, meditation, and then from there I journal, and my journaling process is kind of pretty simple. And it's the what, who, how kind of method of journaling, which is something I've come up with. And so the what part is, I journal since the last time I journaled, what worked and what didn't work, right? And so I just want to kind of reflect on, and if it's one day ago or if it was one week ago. It typically isn't that long, but sometimes I'll miss a day or two here and there. So and that was part of the psychology, and not beating myself up for not doing
Right.
it every day. Is like, it's okay. It's like, just reflect back to the last time that I journaled. So, what worked, what didn't work. And it really has helped with my memory, and just really reliving my life since the last time I journaled, even if it was only a day ago. Right.
Right.
Like, just like what worked the previous day and what didn't work. Right. Which helps me identify something I want to work on or be better at, that day, even starting that day. This is my, morning routine. And then the who is, I write down everyone. I just kind of brainstorm and flood everybody that comes to my mind that I'm grateful for, right, in my life. So I just write down all the who's. And then from there, what I do is I'll circle or check the box of one of those who's, and I'll shoot them a text message or an email or even a phone call to let them know, almost always a text message, and tell them why I'm grateful for them. So that's it's a fun and positive way that it fills my cup. It makes me feel
Right.
good to do that for people, but I know it also makes a positive impact to those people that I send that message to. So that's the who. And then the how is where I actually write my mantra out, right? Jesus, confidence, gratitude. I write my top five. Health is my number one, which is mind, body, and soul, right? Very similar to what we've been talking about. And then Holly, my wife, and then my kids, and then my family and friends, and leading and learning. I just write those words that I just said out loud.
Mhm.
Those are my top five. I always want to keep those front and center. And I like to start my day because it always reminds me these are the priorities for the day. And then the last thing I do is I write my core values. So we have family core values, that use the acronym of SMITH, SMITH. Smiths show up. Smiths have each other's back. They improve every day. They treat friends like family, and they, I think I missed. Let me see. Show up. Uh,
H, I
oh, I
think, might
think
be
I,
right.
yeah, that's honor God's word. Yeah, is the H. I might have missed. And then I do the business core values too, which we don't need to go through all of those right now, but around people first and hungry yet humble and ownership mindset and positive, grateful, and fun. So I guess I pretty much covered those two. But I like to write all those every day because it kind of gets me back to always, or it keeps me focused on what the most important things are for the day. And believe it or not, that journaling process only takes me like about 5 to 7 minutes. But it always puts the most important thing right front and center to start the day.
I think that's key. And I didn't even mention the phone thing either, is that I don't have it in the other room. It's my alarm. I look at it and then I just make sure no one canceled since I'm up so early, and I can put it down. I took a while to train myself, but I won't actually do that till I'm at work. So giving yourself that space to start your day is huge. So that's interesting. You do your gratitudes then, because then my nighttime is 5 to 10 minutes, and that's when I do my reflections, my gratitudes. Try to look through the day, see if I was proud of who I was or wasn't, and in those reflections, though I don't journal my specific mantras out, because like there's things I'll think about. Same thing as like people think you got to be perfectly zen in meditation. It's like something to think about. Like it's okay to do that as it goes, and then you bring yourself back. And but I keep a spot on my phone as soon as I open for like my task list at work that lists those core values. So like I don't know how many times I have to look at that a day. So whether I read it, which I make sure I read it at least once a day, but subconsciously I know my brain knows why that's there, because it never goes off the task list, because that's who I want to be. So it's like I see it so many times. Like that was one thing my friend in psychology was talking about. Just program your own subconscious mind. I'm like, oh, is that just that simple to do? Just go ahead and do it. It's like, well, this can compound. And so like just like compound interest is, do it every day, see what starts to happen.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. Love it. Well, this was a great episode, and I appreciate you sharing with us today, Jason. And how could people learn more if they wanted to hear about how maybe you could be the Kasha to them, right? And help them stay on track and coordinate their health with their primary care physicians and just understand, and hold them accountable, keep a better, put a better framework in place for them to have more of a holistic health experience.
The easiest way is just visit the website, empoweredprevention.com. All my social handles are the same, so you should be able to find me no problem. But if you cannot find these type of professionals around you, I know there are those that can work across even state lines to help consult and help you find the best care you can in your state anyway. So getting the book, learning about it, reading about what our options are, because I think when I got sick, I didn't know I had options. And I would like to, the biggest thing is people know they have options by reading that book. And then they can start to pick what makes sense to them, because I get it will not make sense to everyone. But seek those out. And if you can't, then reach out and we'll do our best to help you do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Jason. And and good luck on your journeys, and you're doing good work of helping people. So I thank you for that.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Holistic Wealth and Health Podcast. We hope we inspired you to make changes so you can live your best life. If you want to find out more about what we do, or if you want to have a holistic wealth and health financial plan, please call 456-833-7000. Please subscribe to the podcast and share it widely with your friends and family. Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors, PCA, an SEC-registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. JL Smith Holistic Wealth Management and PCA are separate, non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance and tax services offered through JL Smith Holistic Wealth Management are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including, but not limited to, age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information. For information pertaining to the registration status of PCA, please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov. For additional information about PCA, including fees and services, send for our disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money.